Hello, everyone. Welcome to eLearnChat, where it's all about learning. And my name is Rick Zanotti, and I'm joined today by Harold Muliati. Leslie won't be here. She will be back in April. And but by the way, do check out her site. Her charity is learnappeal.org.uk. I know they're getting hot again. They're trying to get things going. And we wish them the best on that. And we just had a time change, so she's waiting for her time to catch up, so she's not coming in very early, or early actually in this case. So anyway, we've got some great people today and an announcement to make. So today we've got Ajay Pangankar with us, and we also have Dr. Susan Nash. Here we go. And Harold, by the way, is running the video switcher right next to me, and he's also co-hosting and part of this announcement. Here we go. This show is sponsored by Relate Corporation. Visit us at www.relatecasts.net. Thanks. And we are back, and joining us, we've got four of us today. We've got Ajay Pangankar. He's coming to us from Canada. We've got, actually, Jeff Blanchard couldn't make it today. He's in Australia, but I don't think he got my correspondences in time. We've got Harold, and then we had to have some beauty in the room too, because us four guys really scare the hell out of anybody.
I was going to say that would be you.
No, that's you. That's you. This is Susan. Susan is extremely intelligent, but she's also beautiful. So we have her in the room with us, so that we don't smell everything up badly. We're guys. What can I say? No, it's. I'm so glad you guys are here, and you've also all agreed to participate in this new thing that we're launching. We actually launched it on Tuesday, and it is the eLearning Developer Forum. We had this forum about 20 years ago. Literally 2001, I think, was when we started it. And the forum back then had 3,000 members. It was pretty well occupied. We met all sorts of people. Silke Fleischer was the product manager for RoboDemo in those days with eHelp. Then she went on to become the product manager at Adobe for Captivate, which was what became of RoboDemo. But thanks to her, we got a very large client indirectly just by helping. I think I told that story in a different video I did once. But the forum was a fun place. We had a lot of people talking. There was a lot of interaction. There was even a UK group that wanted to be on the forum, and so they had their own special place on the forum, and they had a really good time. And then we got hit by something, and I don't really remember what it was. It was one of those things that just happened where the forum got taken down, and we never really figured out what it was, but it never came back up. And we let it go, and then a couple of months ago we were thinking, we should really bring this back. It was fun. We could get people going. And one of the benefits of this was it is not vendor owned. It is not vendor controlled or biased, meaning you can say whatever you want, within reason. In other words, be polite. But aside from that, you can say anything you want. No vendor is going to say, go block it. Because what happens at the vendor control sites is the marketing people are like swarmy people. They're dominating the whole thing because they don't want anything bad ever coming out. And while there's nothing wrong with that, we want it to be totally uncensored. If you have comments, complaints, or good things to say, join us here and talk. There'll be a lot of people eventually. We're new right now, so there's only, I think, about 5, 6, 7 of us, maybe 8. But people are starting to look. They're starting to get in there. We're starting to put content up just to fill some content until we can get more people putting in their own content. And so Ajay and Susan, when you have some chances, put up your content. And both Susan has her space. Did we call it Beyond Utopia?
Yes.
So her Beyond Utopia space is in the forum, so she could do whatever she wants with that. She can create all her own boards, and because she has a lot of special interests in that. And Ajay, same thing. We have central knowledge in there. Actually, we really created the forum to keep an eye on Ajay because he gets away from us too easily. So this way, we have much better control over what he's doing. So,
Rick, you know me way too well. Yeah. Or you've been talking to my wife.
His wife paid us. I'm sorry, I didn't mean to say. No. No, Terry is his wife. She's wonderful, and I hope she joins the forum. We'll give her a space too if she wants. But
she will.
She's great.
She does. She adores you guys, and she will. She's just been up through years and stuff. For people who don't know, Terry is also my business partner. And basically, and this is not meant to sound sexist because I really don't bring anything to the table. She's the brains and the beauty of the outfit. I'm just like the queen. I'm a figurehead, so I'm not sure if I should use the term.
Oh, that's funny. He's very humble, but no, Terry's great though. She is great. We've had lunch and dinner before, and it's always great to see you guys. And Terry's smart. She's a smart cookie. So. It'll be fun to have her and her opinions and what she thinks of products. And she does a lot of development. She knows what the products do. And
I'm hoping. Sorry to interrupt, Rick. I hope she does come to. She will. Not I hope. She will. Just in time, because I told her, I said she has a lot of value to add when it comes to speaking about, especially the softwares, the e-learning softwares. She, as you know, and I don't know if our audience knows, but she is more than just one of these people who like to go in and use a software and just build it using the software templates. She's actually hardcore. She actually goes into the programming side. So when a software can't do something for her, she actually scripts it out and actually, builds up something to be able to make it work. So when she is critiquing, I won't say criticizing, critiquing the software, it's hopefully, I said, you have a lot of value to add. Maybe you should share that with the developers of the software. But, like you said, will they listen? That's another story. Yeah,
that's true. And Susan is quite a prolific writer as well. Now, both you, Ajay, and Susan are both prolific writers. They both write a lot. And Susan, once she showed me a list of everything she wrote, and I'm still reading it. It's only been 2 years. So it's...
Well, I have to say that my life has changed. I mean, I don't know, since I haven't been writing as much in the same way since we went through this change of everything going online.
Yep.
And it's been different because I've been kind of thinking a lot about how things were different in like say 2000, and then they changed again during after the .com crash and then the financial crash. A lot of the places went under, and a lot of consolidations. But now that people are doing a whole new kind of genre of learning, which is a kind of hybrid of synchronous and asynchronous with, I'll just use a generic term, Zoom. It used to be called web conferencing, but no longer. And so I'm just thinking, that changes the way that we do assessments. It changes the way, how we use different repositories. So there's a lot to think about.
Yeah. I hope we get out of this method one day, not rely 100% on it, because we seem to be 100% into Zoom and everything else right now. It'll change, I hope, one day. I miss that face-to-face. There's just not a lot of face-to-face going on right now. But one day.
Well,
I kind of prefer e-learning, but then when we're told in isolation, I kind of crave any kind of social contact.
I know. Yeah.
I agree. So, Rick, there's a silver lining in all of this. And as you said, Susan and I write a lot. I just released an article with eLearningIndustry.com that's posted right now titled "Going Back to Normal?" ? It's not going to happen.
No.
And what I meant to say there is that a lot of the things, and I said this a year ago, and I'm not any more smarter than anybody else on this planet. But it didn't take a rocket scientist to look into the future 1 year what things are going to look like. And I sort of predicted certain things that are happening. Now, you said you want to go back to the way it was. And I hear what you're saying. But the good news about this whole situation we're in as a society, we didn't realize the complacency that we were handcuffed to before the pandemic. And it took, it takes an event collectively to sort of shake you out of complacency, because as a species, we don't know when we become complacent. It's insidious. And when you are working in these old models, like the 9-to-5 model and the, in-person model, or anything that's sort of traditional, but you want to be a progressive society, and you're fighting things like remote working and, things that are time wasters that could be done in other ways. This has pushed us to relook and reanalyze what we're doing. And I believe that would be a great topic of discussion on the board, actually, if people want to participate. But it really is. I mean, as Susan said, we will go back to some parts of what was done well, but we have to look forward to things that are working well as well, and create that new reality that makes society work better overall. And, as a human species, I always say, any type of adversity human species has had in their ancestral history, we've always come out of the other side surviving, but more stronger and better for the experience, because we had to find innovative and new ways to do things.
And if you want to read Ajay's whole article, I just posted it. If you're watching live on LinkedIn, I just posted it there, so you can check it out.
Thank you, Harold.
Well, that's really an interesting point. Yeah. Well, I like what you're saying, because last night I happened to be in a workshop, and I was hearing that there are a lot of younger people who are really despairing and frustrated, and yet at the same time, the people that were in this workshop, they were really talking robotics and use of sensors and ways to make the environment better and operations better. And they were all extremely optimistic, extremely enthusiastic, and finding ways to work around the impediments. So it's almost like they weren't trapped in an old paradigm.
And that's interesting, Cindy, you bring up, because, as a human being, as an individual human being, we are often resistant to change because we're comfortable in what we do. If it works, let's not change it. But as a society, as a species, we're expected to change. I'm going to be a little smart about this right now, but, if we weren't meant to change and adapt and progress, we would still be sitting in a cave somewhere, not even wondering what fire is about. And I'm being a little, smart ass about it here, but at the end of the day, really, the human species is meant to advance and change and progress over time. However, as individuals, we are resistant, because once we get into our comfort zone, it's comfortable, right? We know it's the knowing of what to expect. Innovation and change is about the unknown, and that's, again, where learning happens. But and to me, that's the most interesting area. And at times, like everybody else, I get scared, out of my wits. But one philosophy I live by, and it's a scary philosophy, is that when I have that fight or flight instinct, and it's about more of the flight than the fight, I say, Ajay, I talk to myself, by the way, Ajay, you're about to flee. It's time to turn and now fight and go into it headstrong. And even if you fail, I mean, it's a learning experience, right? At the end of the day, we're meant to improve. So if you succeed, great, fantastic, congratulations. If you fail, good, it's fine. You're going to take something away from that and try again.
And never turn around.
Never turn around.
Because you never know who's actually behind you.
No, I know. I got people creeping on me all the time.
No, and I don't disagree with that. When I say I'd like to get back to normal, I want to go back out to eat dinners with people and lunches and yes, not the stupidity we're going through right now, which has no basis in science whatsoever. But that's, let's not go there. I mean, that's what I'm missing. It's like, come on, let's quit with the artificial social isolation, because again, everybody who's done tests on it, it doesn't work. So, or it doesn't prove anything. So, now we're arguing, is it 6 feet or 3 feet? It doesn't matter. But I agree. And on the other stuff, I totally agree. We've been trying for 20-something years to get people to work more remotely. So now, because of no choice, people are doing it, good and bad. It's working well in some cases. It's not working well in others. And we do know one thing, that isolation and lockdowns create massive amounts of suicide rates, massive amounts of alcoholism and drug addiction, and depression. So, there's some real bad things of what's been going on over this last year, actually about a year, a little bit over a year right now, that even the World Health Organization is saying, don't lock down. This is bad. This is not good for you. Nobody's listening. So I think what we need to do is actually eradicate all politicians. Since we have robots now, they can make decisions. They'll probably do better decisions. That would be interesting. But anyway, I'm a bit of a futurist too, and I've read a lot of Arthur C. Clarke when he always talks about, he had one book called The Rings of Saturn, where they elect a person from one of the moons of Saturn to be the president, because he's the one who most is talented or qualified to be president, but wants it less than anybody else. So they elect him. You can't want power. You get elected only when you don't want it. So it's sort of interesting.
And I think on the topic of change, part of the reason that I thought that the forums would be interesting is, obviously the internet has changed quite a bit since times before when forums were often kind of central points of community on the internet. Nowadays, that's less so. However, I think that forums have taken on another role where, because search engines have advanced quite a bit, even though they still oftentimes have a hard time finding what we want them to find. Nowadays, for example, if you have a certain problem, like you're trying to figure out how to do something in some authoring tool or something, usually if you look that up on a search engine, the first things that you're going to come up with are forum search results. So they are helpful in the sense that they serve as resources that kind of just stick around, and people will be able to find for a long time afterwards, which I find kind of funny because there are a lot of things that nowadays when you look up how to do something in some program, some software or something like that, what you'll find are a forum post from 2006, say, and then that people hadn't quite resolved the problem, but then the admin says this thread is too old, I'm locking it, not realizing that it's going to be searchable on search engines into perpetuity.
I like those.
Yeah,
That's how I figured out how to open my garage door when electricity went out.
Yeah, no, it's great for that
true.
kind of thing.
Well, we had to do that today. We had to go online, find a video of how to fold this light diffusion box that's probably about 4 feet by 4 feet, that when you can open it real easy, it just pops open. Try getting it back into the bag.
Yeah, it has to be folded in a very specific way. If anyone's curious, it's the newer photo light tent.
Yeah.
Yeah.
And grown people can spend hours not getting it right.
I think I spent about half an hour yesterday.
Yeah, one time when Jeff Blanchard was visiting us from Australia, he and I looked like 10-year-olds. We're sitting on the floor and we're playing with gear. I mean, I've got a lot of gear. So we're sitting at my house playing with gear. My wife comes walking by and just goes, "Tah," and just walks away. Literally 10-year-old. And then it took us over an hour to figure out how to fold a 7-foot reflector. It took us literally an hour, and we finally went home. My wife walks by and goes, "Here," with total disdain. And so we look at this like this 12-year-old girl, a little small girl, and she goes, "Done." I'm like, oh, God. So we finally got it. That took us about 5 minutes, but then we finally got it. It's and so yeah, it's things that the internet helps you with that you wouldn't think you would need. Mm-hmm.
No, I think the forum offers a. At first I'm thinking forum. Okay, how many times have I been in a forum? But Harold brings up an excellent point. That the first thing when you're going searching, like for any help, either you get the videos or you get the lately I've been, because I switched from Apple back to PC to Microsoft, and so I'm sort of relearning. It's coming back to me, but I'm sort of relearning all the Windows interfaces and stuff. And so there's a few things, something simple like, for example, screenshot, capturing a screenshot, or something like that, which to me on Apple it's pretty simple. And I'm thinking, how do I do this on a Windows? So I go searching, and then I come up with search results, and then there's a lot of these discussion boards Microsoft has, and of course there's ancillary discussion boards for Microsoft by other people or other groups. And so you start going through the thread and you start seeing different things, and there is a utility there. Different, as Harold says, from what the intention was from its inception, of course, and naturally, that's the nature of the beast. Everything is going to change over time. But I think that there's a value here, and for me, what I really look forward to this, and I really thank you for inviting me to be part of this, Rick, is I'm very much a learner. I'm a very curious person. I like to learn things. I like anything, and so. I learn things from people. I investigate things, and discussion boards will probably do that for me, because as more people get involved in this board, I'm hoping to hear new thoughts and new perspectives. mind you, I will. Sometimes I come across a little harsh, but I'm a very critically minded person, and I will question because I don't. Sometimes I don't accept things for face value, or you shouldn't accept things for face value. But that said, I think the board can offer that opportunity.
Do you remember the author Richard Bach? He wrote Jonathan Livingston Seagull. Yep, and Illusions. And in Illusions, there was one great line: "One teaches what one most needs to learn."
Yep,
it's a really good line. But that's part of the forum. As you're teaching people, things are coming up. Even as you teach as an accountant, I'm sure every so often they'll ask you a question you have to think about. How would I handle that? How do the laws or regulations deal with this particular issue? And sometimes it's vague, but I think that's on purpose. A lot of those things are vague just to give some leeway, because otherwise, if it was so black and white, nothing would ever get done.
Yeah. No, 100%. You know, that teaching phrase is something that I think more people should live by. You know, I always tell as you know, and Susan does too, she teaches in academia. You know, when I teach my students, I said, look, you know, especially when I teach in an undergrad class in university, I get like 100 students. And I always acknowledge the fact, look, I said, you're 100, I'm 1. I said, how effective do you think, apart from lecturing to you and getting certain exercises and activities across, am I going to be able to audit everybody learning something?
Yeah.
And I said, some of you are going to get lost in the cracks and not understand something, and I won't recognize that because there's 100 students. So your responsibility to your peers is to teach them. And I said, it's actually a selfish act. I said, the selfish act is of teaching. And what I mean by that, and they look at me like, what do you mean it's a selfish act? I'm being selfless. I'm teaching somebody else. No, you're auditing yourself, because as you teach somebody else, you're auditing how well you know that knowledge. And you'll find your gaps, because teaching will help you discover those gaps. And so I said, as a teacher, I do it all the time.
And I thought when you were saying it's 100 to 1, you pulled out the Uzi and they all sat down and behaved. But
no, that would not make me a teacher anymore.
Well, yeah. I think though that gets into some of the issues of like motivation and how is it and why is it that people are excited about something. And for example, with the discussion board, I'm excited about the idea of seeing something from another person's point of view or through their eyes, because we are using products, but maybe for a different application. So that excites me. And I also want to know what's out there right now. My sense is that there's not as much variety in products, at least in platforms, as there used to be, but there's more in terms of repositories and things like that. But I don't know.
I think you're right.
Yeah,
the tools, I would say, today are easier than they were 20-something years ago, but they're not necessarily more powerful. So we gave up power and control of a tool with what you could do for reaching a more common denominator, good and bad, because some of the tools have enough for a power user, but not that much. And some of the tools don't have enough for a power. So it just depends on the tools and what you want. But I think we're in a more, and by the way, I think getting rid of Flash was one of the worst things anybody could have done, because it gave us also abilities to do things with media that we can't easily do right now. And that's unfortunate.
One of the things that people don't really think about too much is that killing off Flash, in conjunction with other things, killing off Flash kind of killed off the interactive PDF too, because a lot of the rich media implementations from that were driven by Flash.
Yeah, living in an HTML5 world is a little scary sometimes, considering that every browser renders it differently.
That's a good point.
That's what I loved about Flash. It was, no matter what platform you're on, it worked exactly the same way. And there's nothing really that replaces Flash. Well, HTML5 is not yet, I think, a ratified standard. We're close. But
I remember around the time they were starting to talk about getting rid of Flash, then Microsoft was trying to push Silverlight, but just no one really used it, so
nobody
never went anywhere. Yeah. And that was another thing where it would have been sort of proprietary in the sense that it would have been, it would have had to have been rendered the same way on any platform. But yeah, it went nowhere, so we don't even.
Rick,
Well,
I
the
need
other
to
thing
get you in the
was-
room.
I'm sorry.
Go ahead. Go ahead, Susan.
Oh no, I was just going to say it's sad that there aren't as many free types of like graphic programs and file converter programs. I mean, they're light versions, but then before you know it, you're having to pay a lot.
Right.
Yeah, and of course there are a lot of things out there that they'll say they're free, and then they put malware on your system, and then before you know it, then someone's taking control of your computer, is trying to tell you to buy them a Steam gift card or something.
Yep.
Oh, stop going to the dark web, Harold. So.
Of course, nowadays the dark to get malware, you just go to like cnet.com or tucows.com, places that used to be great for these things, but.
Rick, I was going to say I need to get you and Anthony Altieri, who you had as a guest a couple of weeks back. But Anthony is really anti-Flash, so I should get you two in a room and rumble.
He's anti-Flash. I wonder why.
Well, I don't. I'm not an expert in any of this, so I'm not even going to jump into it. And I don't know if he's watching, but it'd be great to. I don't think he's against the concept of Flash. I think it's Flash itself. But
I agree with that. I agree. Flash was idiotic in many, many ways. Adobe did a lot of things to make it just ridiculously difficult for some people. But the only thing I really liked about it is if you had a set or authoring tools could generate Flash, that would help. That was one thing. And so you had something that you didn't have to worry about on deploy. It always worked. I can't really think of too many cases where it didn't. Sometimes you'd have to do a little JavaScript just to communicate better with it, but not often. And that was an LMS issue usually, not a Flash issue. But Flash gave you something that worked in every browser, which we don't have now. We have problems in almost every browser. And so that's the only reason I miss Flash, the fact that it was a pretty good animation tool. It did some things well, but it wasn't the best e-learning tool in and of itself. A lot of e-learning tools generated it. In fact, a lot of people don't know this, but Authorware, which was a very big authoring tool back until about the early 2000s, had actually gotten to the point of generating Flash, and they killed it. So it never actually came out. That would have been interesting. Because Authorware had a lot of capabilities in a lot of ways, but again, you needed somebody who was more proficient in dealing with something that wasn't kind of a point and click. You had to do a little bit more work, not a ton, but a little bit more work. And you could even write programs that could generate Authorware, which was nice. That's what we used to do. We wrote knowledge objects so we could work a lot faster. And right now the tools aren't allowing that, so you've got to constantly do a lot of grunt work. Simple, but grind.
Well, so like, for example, I'm seeing a lot more education focused around challenges, because it's not just like in academia, but also in industry with oil and gas industry, for energy industry. But I'm seeing the need for maybe teams, but not like teams exactly, more of a collaboration space where you actually have a compiler and you can go and work with teams and do some coding using R or Python or whatever. And there you need to have the tools available. And I think it'd be exciting to develop better collaboration spaces. Yeah. AJ, have you worked on any of those types of things?
No. I've always dreamt of doing different types of stuff, but no, I haven't been in those spaces altogether. And I think you're right, though. It's got to be, to my point of view, there's a lot of stuff out there on the web. I just don't think, I know it's been, what we're doing is quite intuitive lately on the web, like it's becoming more intuitive, I should say. But I don't think we're even there yet. I think there's so much power and capacity for it to make things intuitive. There's still this element of being somewhat technical about it. And here, what needs to happen in some of these spaces, especially the tools that we're talking about, or through the internet, it's got to be ubiquitous where people can just go in. It's like starting your car. Like, so go back. Let's go. I use the car analogy all the time because my dad he wasn't a mechanic, but he would tinker around with his car. And this is back in the 70s, right? I was a kid, and he would show me how to change the oil and change the air filter and change the spark plugs. And it's like, okay, I have those skills now. I'm not a mechanic. Doesn't make me a mechanic, but it makes me literate. But now I don't need to know that, right? The cars are way too complicated for me to do that anymore. But the cars have become so simple to use. I just go in, press a button. Now I don't even put a key in the ignition. I can even press a button from inside my house to get the car started and getting everything done. So, the web is not there yet, or the technology is there. I just don't think we have that collective responsibility to get to that. We're not there yet, is my opinion. I'm just repeating myself.
Yeah. Well, there's that music. Our time is just about up. Well, I'm really glad you guys could join us, and that's a conversation of what you can find on the forum as well. So as we all stop proliferating opinions and information, you'll find a lot of that on the forum, and it should be a fun place for people to meet, gather, talk about things, and not feel that you can't. And I think that's part of the key, that you can be as open as you want, and you're not going to get thrown out because, you said something against a tool, or you disagreed about how the way a tool is architected, or you see issues that haven't been resolved in 15 years. Things like that. So, I mean, it's usually a good place to be, and you'll get to know more people, which is also fun. You get to meet some of your peers and other people in the industry who you can learn from, or they can learn from you. It'll be fun.
As long as you don't call other people tools.
That's right. Anyway, well, thanks for coming, Ajay and Susan, as always. In fact, Susan, I'll see you in another probably half hour, 45 minutes for the next show. We have another show coming up with Gina Schreck.
Thank you.
Gina
That's
Schreck
right.
will be our
I'm so
guest.
thrilled. I'm thrilled to be a part of this, and I'm excited to start plunging into the discussion board and forums and seeing what we can stir up.
Yeah, it'll be fun.
Yeah. Thank you, Rick, for having me, and Harold, thank you very much. It's always a pleasure to be here.
Our pleasure's all mine. And for all you folks watching, please join the forum. I don't know I think Harold's been putting out the URL, but it is eLDF. So e-learning developer forum, eldf.proboards.com. eldf.proboards.com. And we'll have it out there all over the place very soon. Have a good one, everyone. We will see you next week on eLearnChat. Appreciate it. Bye-bye. Thanks.
Bye.
Thank you.